You will hear a conversation between a tax office employee and a woman who wants to apply for a tax number. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning, tax office. How can I help you?
I'd like to apply for a tax file number.
Are you a citizen?
No, but I'm told I still need a number.
So what is your residency status? Are you a permanent migrant, or perhaps a temporary visitor?
Oh, I'm a permanent migrant.
And you need a TFN?
A what?
A TFN. It stands for tax file number.
Yes, what is that exactly?
It's a unique number we issue to individuals and organizations to help administer tax collection and other government systems.
Why do I need one?
In actual fact, you don't.
What do you mean?
It's not compulsory, you know.
But I should get one?
Well, it's a good idea. Otherwise, you'll have more tax withheld from your wages or salary. In fact, you won't be eligible to participate in the PAYE, that's pay-as-you-earn system, and you couldn't apply for income support or other benefits. You wouldn't have to pay the Medicare levy, but then you wouldn't be entitled to claim Medicare benefits either.
I'd better have one then.
Okay. So you're currently living in this country, right?
Yes.
What kind of visa do you have? A working visa?
Well, I did have one because after my student visa expired, I went back home and worked for a year before applying for a job here. The job turned out to be permanent and full-time, and my employers wanted me to settle here. So now I have a permanent migrant visa.
Now, once you have a file number, you never need to reapply. Even if your circumstances change, for example, if you get married or decide to take an English name, they'll even use the same one when you retire and apply for a government pension.
I see.
Have you ever had a TFN before?
No.
Right. Let's get on with the application process now.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
What is your passport or travel document number?
Oh, just a moment. I have it here. JGW 1100536.
Where do you come from?
I came from Greece.
Is that your country of origin?
Yes, I came from Greece.
Are you Greek? Do you have a Greek passport?
No, I was born in Spain. I have a Spanish passport, but I've been living in Greece.
And where do you live now? Where will the department send your TFN?
That's 1339 Harbor Drive, Holywell.
Postcode?
1517.
Thank you. Now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
By phone, you can ring my landline number, 0955775076. I'm sorry, I haven't got a cell phone at the moment.
I see. Can you give me the details of someone else we could contact if we can't get you during office hours?
That would be my landlady.
What's her name?
Martha Pierce.
Is that Pierce, P-I-E-R-C-E?
No, it's P-E-A-R-C-E.
And her number is?
The same as the one I gave you.
Yes, I've got that. Now, for some more personal details, what title do you use?
Excuse me?
Are you Mrs., Miss, or Ms.?
I'm not married. Put me down as Miss.
All right. What's your surname?
Farina.
What's your first name?
Maria.
Do you have a second or middle name?
Well, two, actually.
What are they?
Rosa Anna.
I'm guessing Farina is your maiden name, since you haven't been married. But are you known by any other names?
Farina is my only surname, but people call me Mary.
As a first name?
Yes.
When were you born, Mary? Can you give it to me in the following order? Day, month, and year?
The 15th of November, 1983.
You're obviously female, so that brings me to the last question, which I don't really need to ask.
What's that?
Your husband's name.
I don't have one.
I know, so I'll just write down N.A. for not applicable.
Thank you.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
You will hear an introductory speech to students at a summer school. You have 30 seconds to look at questions 11 to 14.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Climb Summer School. Now, I know most of you have travelled a long way to get here, and you're probably looking forward to settling into your rooms. So I promise I won't keep you long, but we've got to get through this very brief induction just to make your stay here as pleasurable as possible. Now, as you can see, while we're located very close to the centre of London, we're actually quite cut off from the main road. And we've got plenty of space for our facilities and students. This was part of our founder's vision, Jasmine Climb, who thought that the best environment for teenage students would be a place that combines the comforts of a big cosmopolitan city with the beauty and serenity of a quiet, remote site. Now, back in 1983, when our school was founded, this all here was an abandoned warehouse, and the classes were held in the main building that you can see over there. There were no trees, no conifers surrounding the property. There wasn't even a main gate. It took years and a great deal of effort to get our school to where it is today. And I'm sure that if you take a look at page 34 in your brochures, where you can find a picture of what the school used to look like back then, you'll agree that the changes we've made are more than impressive. But it's not just the facilities that make Climb Summer School special, obviously, and I'm certain you already know this. Over the following 10 weeks, you'll receive an assortment of classes on a variety of topics, ranging from language, literature and poetry to creative writing, communication and project management. All of these modules have been designed to improve your chances of getting a place in the universities of your choice, while also giving you the opportunity to learn, excel, and of course, also socialise with people from all over the world. I can tell you, just among the 30 of you, we've got about 21 different nationalities. So what happens now? First of all, I'll be handing out a map of the premises for you to have a look at, and explaining where everything is. Once we're done here, you'll all be taken to your rooms where you can unpack and relax for a couple of hours. And later on, we'll be having our first activity of the day, a mix and match lunch in the main hall, where you'll have the chance to meet your new classmates. Later on in the afternoon, we'll be handing out your first project assignments and splitting you into teams. And tonight we'll be having our very first film night, starting with an early 20th century special.
You now have 30 seconds to look at questions 15 to 20.
So, let's get on with a map. You've already got a version of it in your brochures, so if you can open them to the last page so we can have a look. Very well. As I showed you before, the actual school is right over there in the middle. That's where you'll be having most of your classes. Adjacent to it, you'll find the main hall, which is where we'll be hosting most events, such as today's lunch. On the left from the main building, you'll find a smaller building, which is where the accommodation and welfare offices are located. This is labelled as the garden office at the front, and it's easy to spot because it has a green door. Each of you is assigned to a different residence hall. We've got 3 residence halls in total, 1 on the left and 2 on the right. The one right next to the garden office is Ursula Hall, named after our founder's sister, while the other 2 are Peter Hall and William Hall. Now, as you can see, there are 3 more buildings to the left of the semicircle here, and 1 more building on the right-hand side, next to William Hall. So that one, which is shaped a bit like a dome, is the pavilion. This is where all your letters will be delivered, and in the basement floor you'll also find a laundrette. Please make sure you've got plenty of £1 coins, as you'll need one for the washing machine and another for the dryer. And that row of buildings on the left, the one closest to us here at the gate, is the canteen, where you'll be able to buy snacks as well as breakfast, lunch and dinner, on days when we don't have an event with food provided. The next one is the gym, which is open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. from Monday to Friday, and until 10 p.m. at the weekend. And the last building, right over there, is the study centre, where you'll find plenty of computers and books, as well as a great selection of DVDs and magazines that you can borrow with only a small refundable deposit of £5. Now, please remember to keep your student card with you at all times, as you'll need it to access most of these facilities.
You'll hear a conversation in a university student services office. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hello, I'm Dawn Matthews.
Yes, hello. I've been referred to you because I'm inquiring about the refresher courses that you run. I'd like to find out a bit more about them.
OK. Well, we run quite a few different short courses for students who are either returning to study or studying part-time. Tell me about your situation.
Well, I think that I really need some help in preparing for the coming semester, especially to build up my confidence a bit and help me study effectively because, you see, I've been out in the workforce for nearly 12 years now, so it really is a long time since I was last a student.
Yes, it can seem like a long time, can't it? Well, let me start by telling you what courses we have that might suit you. Are you an undergraduate or a postgraduate, arts or sciences?
Undergraduate, and I'm in the business faculty.
Right then. First of all, there's our intensive Study for Success seminar on the 1st and 2nd of February. It's aimed at students like you who are uncertain about what to expect at college and looks at a fairly wide range of approaches to university learning to motivate you to begin your study and build on your own learning strategies.
That sounds good. What are some of the strategies that are presented?
Well, we try to cover all aspects of study. Some of the strategies in writing, for example, would be improving your planning for writing, organising your thinking, and building some techniques to help you write more clearly. With reading, there'll be sessions aimed at getting into the habit of analysing material as you read it, and tips to help you record and remember what you've read. It really is very important to begin reading confidently right from the beginning. There's also advice on how to get the most from your lectures and practice in giving confident presentations, as well as how to prepare for exams.
What about the motivational side of things?
Well, there's a range of motivational exercises that we do to help the students feel positive and enthusiastic about their study. The process of learning and exploring a subject can lead to a whole new way of looking at the world, and the study skills and techniques that you build up can be applied in all sorts of different ways.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Actually, I'm very excited about the whole thing of taking up studying again, but, I'm a little nervous about whether I'll manage to get everything done. I suppose it's the same for all mature students.
Of course it is. Two of the key components of the course are time management and overcoming procrastination. People discover that once they learn to plan their days, all the work can be accomplished and there'll still be time for leisure.
Is there an enrolment fee?
Well, just a minute, let's see. The cost is £30, which includes all course materials and morning tea. You have to arrange your own lunch.
Well, that wouldn't be a problem. I already make sandwiches for my 3 kids and my wife and myself every day. I won't have to change my routine.
No. Now, I need to tell you that this is a very popular course and it's essential that you book well ahead of time. In fact, the course convener tells me that there are only 5 places left.
What other course might be good for me?
There is one other that you could benefit from. It's simply called Learning Skills for University Study and is on 3 consecutive mornings, starting on a Monday from 9 to 12, and costs £25. This is aimed at upgrading the study skills most school leavers have and help them cope with the increased demands of university study. It focuses mainly on making students more responsible for their own success.
What sort of things are covered in this course?
Well, basically, it's more advanced thinking, note-taking, reading and writing strategies, but also some input about stress management.
I think I'd be better off starting from the basics and looking at all the strategies, don't you?
Yes, from what you've told me, I think that's more in line with your situation.
All right then. Can I book a place on the Study for Success seminar course now?
Yes. Let me just get out a registration form and take down your details.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
We'll hear an introduction of the exhibition named 2 Centuries of the Bike. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our exhibition, 2 Centuries of the Bike. Let's stroll around the exhibition, shall we? Although there were a few early efforts back in the 1700s, you didn't really see many bikes till, say, the 1830s in England. Bikes were a response to the rapid growth of cities early in the 19th century. Cities like London were getting too big to walk across. The early bike let people travel with less effort than walking. Plus, a bike was a lot cheaper than a horse. Think of it. No one invented a bike for, 5,000 years of human history. Why did people do it then? Probably because this was the start of the machine age. People wanted machines to do all the work. There were some drawbacks, however. For one thing, there were no pedals. You simply pushed yourself along using your feet, kind of like today's skateboard. That meant you went fairly slow, and uphill you actually worked harder, pushing that two-wheeler. Plus, the wheels were made of wood covered with metal, as you can see from this model. So the downside was that the ride was quite uncomfortable on most roads. Only a few gadget lovers had or used them. By the 1860s, though, improvements were being made. As you can see from this specimen, metal frames had become the rule. They are more durable than wood, and they don't warp in the rain. The biggest improvement, however, was the development of the chain and sprocket system. They are connected. This meant you did not push the bike. You used pedals, just like today. You had to try harder to balance, so it took some practice to figure out how to use the pedals. But it made the ride so much easier. As a result, the good thing was that you could ride a lot more smoothly and with very little effort. By the 1880s, another big change was the use of rubber wheels. These became pretty common at that time. Though the first ones were solid rubber, the ride was a good deal more comfortable than the old iron and wood system. This is a big consideration because the faster you go, the more you feel every bump. Air-filled tyres, pneumatic tyres, didn't really come into use till around the year 1900, as you can see from this exhibition over here. That made the ride even more comfortable. So by 1890 or so, people were going a lot faster and a lot more smoothly. There was one problem when you were going quickly and comfortably. Oh no, how do I stop? Yes, we all laugh now, but for a long time the only way to stop was to drag your feet. That didn't work very well, and it would be dangerous if you were going fast. In the crowded cities of those years, New York, Chicago, and so on, you would get killed if you couldn't stop for, say, a streetcar. Plus, look at this bike. The front wheel is nearly 1 meter and 2/3 tall. They made them that way so you could see over people and wagons, but you couldn't drag your feet. This model is called a velocipede, a speed pedal. Another characteristic of the bike in this period is that it has 2 equal-sized wheels, which signaled a big change in bikes. For with the velocipede, brakes appeared. If you wanted to stop, you just pushed the pedal backwards. Doing that stopped the back wheel of the bike. This technique worked a lot better than dragging your feet or jumping off the high seat there. This meant that bikes became a great deal safer. It would have been safer if people wore helmets, but the first bicycle helmet wasn't invented until years later, and even then, it was little more than a leather ball cap. It really wasn't until the 1970s that the bike helmet was modified to provide some real protection. Before continuing on to look at developments since the 1890s, let's say a word more about safety. Everyone knows if you're going downhill, you can get going dangerously fast. To go more than 100 kilometers an hour isn't all that difficult. but even on level ground, it's easy to go too quickly. On a city street, today's bicycles can be ridden at a speed of over 40 miles an hour over a short distance. That's about 64 kilometers an hour. Remember, you're on a bike, not in a car. There's nothing to protect you. People are killed in single bicycle accidents every day, just from hitting the road. A good rule to remember is, if you're going faster than the cars, slow down. And please wear a helmet. Nearly 1/4 of the epilepsy cases come from head injuries in accidents on bikes and motorcycles. I don't mean to scare you, but safety is everyone's business. What? Now that's a good question. Why are today's bikes so much faster? Well, it's not just that today's athletes are faster. The answer is partly mechanical. If you look closely here at the back wheel, you'll see a number of gears. Changing gears is what makes those fast speeds possible. You can shift gears depending on the terrain and how hard you wish to pedal. So you can put it on a higher gear for downhill and a lower gear for uphill travel to make it easier to climb that slope. You'll notice this gear shifting mechanism is attached to the back wheel, and when the rider shifts on the handlebar gear shifter, the chain moves to the appropriate sprocket. And, speaking of changing gears, let's look over here at our Tour de France exhibit.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.